Hi everybody, I'm Joey. Well, firstly, apologies for taking so long to get that video out. I've been just so busy in the workshop, I haven't even been able to look at my federal desk, but this week I've been making some good progress. I'll show you a couple of shots of what I'm up to, but there'll be a full video of that to come. Okay, so here's my desk. You can see this patch in the middle, that's for the leather inlay. I'll be showing you how I did that in the full video. And also I've put a couple more coats of Danish oil on. Also I reattached the tabletop, the desktop, which I'll show you in the other video. It's coming up as soon as I can. And then also, and then there's this is the monstrous left-hand drawer bank, which is going to look like two drawers. And so I've just finished gluing this up. This cube is dovetailed on every side. It was a bit of a nightmare really. And so after this is dried and fitted, I'll be cutting it in half so it opens up kind of like a book when you pull it out. And once I get that fitted, I'll be releasing the next video for the federal desk. But I thought I'd do a quick video today because I just got this in the mail, number 5.5, Stanley plain. It is a little bit wider and a little bit longer than a standard number 5. And it's a bit heavier, quite a bit heavier. This is pretty cheap for New Zealand anyways, $50. I thought actually it was fairly new with plastic handles, but I think the handles have been painted black. Anyway, I thought I'd show a quick video on my way of tuning up a plane. I know there's lots of videos out there and some of them are pretty long and complicated ish, and I thought I'll just show you how I do mine, and I get really good results. It's probably breaking all the rules, but I think it works well and I get pretty good results, so I'll show you guys that now. Okay, let's see what this plane does just right out of the box. The only thing I've done is adjusted the blade so it's coming out of the sole squarely. This is just a block of pine too. Well, it's taking shavings a lot better than I thought it would. But let's make it take even nicer shavings. Right, so the first thing you should do is just take everything apart. It's all pretty straightforward, just screwed together. If you're not familiar with how all the pieces of a plane, maybe take some pictures before you start doing this. Otherwise, just take it apart. Okay, so now you're just left with all the parts. We'll just clean up this sole. Paintwork actually looks fine, it just needs cleaning up. And then we'll work on the sole after. The chip breaker is in not bad condition, it's just a bunch of rust, so we'll just sand that off. And the lever cap, it's got a bunch of surface rust. I will probably sand it off, but I'm going to ruin the finish on it. But at least I won't have lumps of rust on there. And the frog, again, it's not pretty good condition really, just some little surface rust on the exposed steel, so it should be easy enough to take care of. The actual blade, there's a crack in the blade, so I think I might just not use this blade. There's rust on it, the end's been hammered over, got the crack, and it's got a really awful sharpened edge. So I have a spare blade this wide for my number 7, so I will just replace it with that. And it saves me doing a whole lot of work on a blade that, well, with a crack, it's probably going to end up with a lot of chatter in it. So right, I've just got turpentine, terps. I'm just going to brush them on, just so I can pick up some of that loose dust a bit easier with the rag. And of course this stuff will just evaporate off. Okay, this is the frog. The blade sits on this, so you don't really want to play around filing this too much, because you're going to change the pitch of the blade and how it sits. It needs to sit nice and flat. So all I'm going to do is just wrap. I've got some 300 grit wet dry sandpaper, and just going to get rid of some of that rust. Really not applying much pressure here at all. Just want to make sure that the frog is sitting as squarely as it can be. I tend to just do this by eye. Try and have the sides of the frog parallel with the sides of the plane. Now the reason I am putting the frog in now is because some people think that by tightening the frog in like I am now, it puts added tension on the body and the sole of the plane. For the next step we need to flatten the sole, because if that's not flat then you won't be making anything else flat with it. So we need to flatten that. Now some people think that by tightening these frog screws up too much, or tightly at least, it can put some pressure onto the sole and distort the sole. So when you flatten the sole, you should have the frog in place. That's what I read. Makes sense, I suppose. So flattening is the next step. So the first thing you need is something flat. It's what they call a lapping plate. I just picked up a piece of toughened glass from my local glass supplier. This was a wrong size cut and I got it for free. I've just siliconed it to a piece of MDF, and I have a little border of Perspex acrylic plastic siliconed in, so I have a little tray. So find the flattest thing you can. That's the first thing. Next thing, we need to mark the bottom of the sole. I'm just going to use a paint pen here. So now we know when we start sanding this, we can see what's being worn away and what's staying, so high and low points. 240 grit sandpaper. Get some water down on here. Hopefully it will stick in place slightly. So we've got heavy grinding here on the toe and the heel, so that's saying that this whole sole has got a big concave in it, so it looks like there's a lot of sanding in my future. Okay, that's down to 240 grit. And you can see got a nice polished area here, polished heel. The back of the mouth is polished, which is what we want because we want these 3 points to be on the same plane. Now we have started sanding this. Most of the red paint is gone, and for me that's enough. I could spend the rest of the day sanding this so the whole lot was polished, but I don't think it's necessary. So what I'm going to do now is just change to 400 grit and just polish up these areas a little further, and then I'm good to go. I would say that's about all it needs. If you're wanting to use your plane on its side for shooting, you need to make sure that the sole is squared to the side, and this plane is pretty good. It's pretty square. So all I'm going to do is, because the sides are in pretty good nick, they just need a bit of polishing up. So I'll just do that on this 400 grit. Alright, so now for the cap iron. The inside's pretty good, pretty much stay as it is. And the outside, I'm just going to have a block of timber here with the sandpaper on top. A little bit of water. Alright, so now for the leather cap. And I really don't want to stuff with the nice chrome finish, but I'm going to just give it a sand up just to get rid of those lumps of rust, and like I said earlier, probably going to wreck the finish on it. Stanley No. 7. It has been jointed, it has been sharpened very badly by myself in the past, but we'll fix that now. So, first thing, this is how I like to do it. First thing you need to do is, well, I use Japanese water stones. So I've got 800, 1200 and 4000 grit. So first I start with 800 grit. Now before I sharpen, or maybe every second or third sharpening, I'll flatten my sharpening stone. There's no point sharpening on a stone with concave. So I'll start with 400 grit, see if that's enough. So it's simply a matter of flattening off your stone just like the plane sole. And that's about all it takes. Usually I do both sides, and then I know that she's flat, and I'll do that on all my stones before I start sharpening. Okay, so in my opinion, you need to get one of these. It's a honing guide. It'll hold the blade or your chisel at a consistent angle all the time. Some people think it's cheating. I think it's just a quick way to get a really sharp edge repeatedly. So for this particular one, to achieve a 25-degree bevel, I need to have my blade 50 mil away from the body of the honing guide. That's where it is there. And I find these Japanese water stones just really pull the steel off the blades. That makes sharpening quite quick. Now, given I have such a wide blade, possibly not such a big issue, but generally you don't want to always be sharpening in the middle because you cause a big hollow in your stone, which you tend to do anyway, but you want to minimize that. So if you work off the edge for say 5 strokes and come to the middle, and then work off the other edge for 5 strokes. So that is pretty well polished, honed to 25 degrees, and there's just a very small patch on the cutting edge that hasn't been touched, and that's okay because I'm going to put a micro bevel on this plane, so I'll touch that up when I get to that, and that's just with an 800 grit stone, and I probably won't do any more than that. I don't think it needs it. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is flatten, just see how flat this blade is. So I'm going to get rid of my 800 stone and move to the 1200. A little bit of water. And again, just like sole of the plane, we want this edge to be as flat as possible. And really it's only this kind of first 20 mil of the blade that needs to be dead flat, because that's the cutting edge. It's pretty unlikely that you're ever going to sharpen all the way up here. That would take many years. And that is pretty good. So I'm going to put a 50-degree micro bevel on this blade, which means come away 23 millimeters. And that's done already. That is really good. So I'm just going to make one pass to remove a small burr that was left. Now I'll change to my 4000 grit just to polish that cutting edge. And that is a sharp blade. So you can see there the micro bevel is glistening. And the point of a micro bevel is that when it comes time to resharpening, I have a lot less steel to sharpen. Rather than the whole face of the bevel, I can just sharpen that small bleeding edge, and it's a lot quicker for me to do that and get on with work. So the chip breaker sits right on the front edge to support the cutting edge of the blade, and I like to have my chip breaker about a millimeter away from the leading edge. That's fairly close. Add a little bit of CRC. Right, so I have the blade set up. You can see the cutting edge and the gap between the opening of the throat to the cutting blade should be fairly small. In this case, maybe 2 millimeters. And let's see how this thing cuts. That's not a bad shaving for about an hour's work. Well, so there it is, all finished. This could look a lot nicer than it does. I could spend a lot more time polishing it up to make it look pretty, but it does the job perfectly well, and that's probably how it's going to stay in my shop. So hopefully you guys learned something, maybe not. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.